So good.
Lancaster!
Welcome, goodies.
That's you.
I'm Jason Mundock, and this is So Good Lancaster. On episode 3 of this podcast, we talk to our friends Joe Davis, who does a thing called Creative Release at the Candy Factory. And we also talk to Natalie and Selena from PCAD's Center for Creative Exploration, who does something similar called Art Recess at Zootropolis. These are events that bring people together around the arts. And I love that idea of building connection through some sort of creative thing. But what's interesting about it is that those are events that happen in found space. They happen in places that already exist for other purposes. Zootropolis, a theater and bar and restaurant, and of course the Candy Factory is a co-working space and social club. So it made me think about the idea of actual places that are dedicated to bringing people together and making connections. And of course here at the mothership, the Candy Factory, where we make this podcast and are sponsored by the Candy Factory. A primary mission of the Candy Factory is to bring people together. This is a third place.
For sure.
That's Ann Kirby. She's the founder of the Candy Factory Co-working and Social Club, also known as TCF, and full disclosure, my business partner in So Good Media. The third place is a thing that's really kind of coming back, is it safe to say?
Yeah. I mean, I think they've always existed. Over time, we've maybe lost third places, but we are seeing a need for them and them coming back more and more. Third places, it's interesting. The definition on Google, anyway, is a third place is a neutral ground where people can build relationships and exchange ideas. The term was popularized by a sociologist, Ray Oldenburg.
Good old Ray.
In 1989. The book is called The Great Good Place. And that common third places include coffee shops, bars, parks, libraries, co-working spaces like ours. They mention other examples being churches, recreation centers, hairdressers, gyms, and fast food restaurants.
Not sure about the fast food restaurant part. That seems like a stretch.
No, but you can see how salons where people gather
absolutely.
and talk and build relationships. I think that's the key, right? Anywhere you can go to actually meet people and form deeper bonds and relationships with people.
Because the first place is home. The second place is work.
Right.
And this is something outside of where you live and where you work.
Right. Now, it's so interesting because if you say outside of where you work and we're a co-working space.
Well, that is interesting.
How does that work? Well, because our focus is on community and community building. And so a lot of our events that we host are intentionally built around this concept. So you're not just going to a place where you work with all the same people. You're intentionally choosing to come to a facility with other people from all backgrounds, all professions, different companies, to not only work, but you're coming to be around people. Yeah. You're getting out of the home, you're building your business, and you know that networking is important. And or you're new to the area, for example. We have a lot of transplants at TCF, and they're looking to form new friendships and find out what's going on in Lancaster. And so it's a great place to do that. So because we are intentional about community building, we are a third place and not just a place you work.
And it's like an interesting mashup.
It is. Well, the co in co-working means community. And that's why we don't like the hyphen, because we don't want to separate community from work. So it's this where we can be in community even where we work.
And while I have you here, talk a little bit about how the Candy Factory started.
Well, so I'm not from Lancaster. I'm a transplant as well, and I moved to Lancaster back in the early 2000s. And my background's in design and marketing, and so I was trying to find other creative professionals. I started looking for networking opportunities, couldn't find anything that was a really good fit, so I decided to start my own. I started a group called the Creative House of Lancaster, told 5 strangers on MySpace back in the day who had interest in creative endeavors or professions, and just said, hey, you don't know me, but I'm starting this meetup. I'd love to connect. We had 20 people show up at our first meetup, and that meetup grew and grew and grew and grew. We did a ton of great events, kind of similar to Joe's Creative Release or the Recess.
Yeah.
It was a lot of like pop-ups in alternative spaces, whether it be art shows or we did holiday fairs, things like that. You name it, we did a lot of cool stuff. And a lot of us were working from home or working from offices. We were like our own independent offices. We were isolated. And I was like, man, there has to be a better way. We would love to be together in community and actually grow this community. And so I started researching co-working. And the version of co-working that we follow kind of grew out of the open source movement. And there's a real philosophy around that where community is at the core, and collaboration and openness, accessibility, sustainability, all of those key things. And I loved it. And I was like, this is perfect. So I was like, I want to bring this to Lancaster. And so in 2010, I opened up the Candy Factory in an old candy factory. So that's why we're called the Candy Factory for all those who wanted to know. And so we thought we were going to be in the Keppel building, which was an old candy factory for years. And we only actually lasted there 4 years, and then moved to our current location in 2014. And so we're celebrating 15 years of co-working, actually, in 2025.
So the Candy Factory, even though it started as a community without a home, it fairly quickly, over the course of a few years, evolved into an actual place.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what's interesting, and something I really want to explore this year on this podcast, on several episodes, and that is the places where people gather, the places where people come together. Because Lancaster it's rich in this, and I think it's post-pandemic, it's really evolving and flourishing.
Yeah, it's exciting.
There's a lot going on, and there are a lot of places where people come together, the Candy Factory being one of these places. What impact do you feel like the Candy Factory has had on Lancaster in 15 years and on really combating this idea of isolation or loneliness?
Well, it's interesting because we've always said that co-working and the Candy Factory, we save you from isolation. And that was even before, the Surgeon General's report on loneliness and isolation or it becoming kind of a thing. I think it's really what we do. We save people from isolation by bringing them together in an inspiring space around interesting new people, where ideas are shared and collaboration just organically, naturally happens. The things that come out of building intentional relationships with people around you and coming to a space like the Candy Factory is just, it's magical, really. And it's, it might seem a little weird to say that, but it really truly is so interesting to see what happens when you bring people together in a space that's intentionally built for community building. We are in a global loneliness and isolation epidemic, right? And if you read the Surgeon General's report on this issue, it really stresses why third places are important.
Yeah.
There are real health risks associated with the lack of social connection. Third places are really important. And, there are 6 pillars outlined in this report to help kind of advise communities on how we can help combat this. Strengthening social infrastructure, reimagining digital connections, our relationships with technology, promoting and funding social connection initiatives. And the last one, which I think is really interesting, the 6th one, I'm just not naming them all, but the 6th is cultivate a culture of connections. And that's exactly what the Candy Factory and some of these third places are doing, is we are cultivating a culture of connections.
To ring in the new year, we talked with Josh and Rufus from Westart here in Lancaster. They shared how their third place has grown into a space where people can get out of their homes, connect with others, and have an outlet for whatever it is they're passionate about.
It gives you the impetus to carry on and to really push on and work hard, because you can see what it can mean to people and how it can potentially change people's lives, because it gives them a window into what they can achieve and what they're really capable of.
We also spoke with Catherine and Jason Horst, owners of Horst Art Center in Mannheim, about how they created a cozy, creative, intimate space where people can connect and engage.
We want them to walk away with something they enjoy and they feel proud of, but it also can just be a place to have fun. And when you have fun, I think you usually relax and want to come back.
Today on the program, we're talking about third places in Lancaster. Right here, right now. Let's go. So Good Lancaster is powered by the Candy Factory, also known as TCF, a co-working and social club in downtown Lancaster, Pennsylvania. ClubTCF.com. Check it out. It's time. This is
So good.
So good.
So good, Lancaster.
West Art is a living room for Lancaster and a sanctuary for the arts.
This is Josh.
I'm Josh Gibble with West Art here in Lancaster, PA.
It's mostly about creating a space for people to get out of their home, gather and meet other members of their community and socialize.
And this is Rufus.
I'm Rufus Deakin from West Art in Lancaster.
Josh and Rufus, neighbors turned creative collaborators, are the driving force behind West Art. Their decision to buy an old church on their block wasn't just to purchase a building. They were seizing the chance to preserve and reimagine a key part of their neighborhood. More than just a venue, West Art serves as Lancaster's living room, a sanctuary for creativity and a dynamic hub for private events, concerts, and community gatherings.
We're still very much in what we're sort of calling the scrappy startup mode, but as we're getting off the ground here, one big part of it is going to be getting the coffee bar up and running. I feel like that's going to provide a place in the building that has regular hours that will be open 7 days a week, as opposed to right now where it's more events-based. So if someone's in the building right now, it's because there's a particular thing happening that they're coming to, whether it's a yoga class or a concert or an AA meeting or all the different things that are happening. But there's something about that coffee bar with regular hours that will kind of open up whole new horizons and I think bring a lot of synergy to all the different things that are happening. So whether you're coming for a concert or something with theater or a class or maybe a private event, there will be that coffee bar that sort of feels like the living room. That will be a consistent place where you can come and study or gather with some friends or just come and find a place.
I think at the same time as the coffee bar opens up, we're also going to roll out our art co-op, which is an idea that has evolved from our initial art studios idea, to make space available in the building when it's not being used for anything else, to be space for artists to work while they drink a coffee at any time of day. And we'll have lockers for them to store their stuff. And it will be at a very low cost that the studios couldn't have been had we have gone with that model. So I'm really excited for the building to have life in it. Because at the moment, as Josh said, it's only open when we open the doors for specific things.
Sometimes it's just the two of us mopping floors.
It literally
it's not
is.
very exciting.
No.
And along with the with spot for artists to create some gallery space, there's a lot of big walls in that building that we're excited to have be filled with local art, and it'll be a big part of it too.
It's safe to say that, like West Art, all third places share a common vision of creating spaces that are both welcoming and inspiring.
I feel like a third place is a place you want to relax in, you feel comfortable in, you're excited to be there and want to stay.
Our goal there is to, whatever event we do, once you leave with something unique to you.
This is Catherine and Jason.
I'm Catherine Horst, one of the owners of Horst Art Center, a fine artist and events manager.
And I am Jason Horst, one of the owners at Horst Art Center, and I am a graphic designer and web developer.
Horst Art Center is a creative hub in the heart of Mannheim, Pennsylvania, brought to life by Jason and Catherine Horst. What started in 2002 as Jason's web design business evolved into something much more when the couple decided to focus on their local community. With Catherine's love for mixed media art and a passion for bringing people together, they built Horst Art Center.
Before long, we found ourselves in a building, and that was very exciting. And we really went into it thinking, hey, this is going to be really focused on web design and graphic design. But we realized, especially in Mannheim, this is not really a place that kind of business needs a storefront.
Sure.
And we're like, hey, we've got this extra space. Let's also make it into some kind of a workshop space. And we really focused on creating events that aren't done anywhere else. So we do events that are very much like paint nights, which are very popular, but we don't do paint nights because plenty of opportunities for that. We enjoy trying to come up with things that aren't available elsewhere in the county on a regular basis. Some of the things are things you know of, like string art. Others we kind of developed ourselves. And so our goal there is to, whatever event we do, once you leave with something unique to you. Not everyone's doing a gnome or a Christmas tree. We give you the tools, we equip you, we give you direction, and then we help you create something of interest to you and your personality.
If you have workplace flexibility and can work from anywhere, you probably know how lonely it can get working all day, every day in the same building where you sleep, i.e., your house. TCF Co-working and Social Club in Lancaster is the solution. Get out of the house, work around other humans in real life, and get social with a ton of clubs, activities, and events. TCF offers community, full-time, and private office memberships and day passes if you're just passing through town. Check out clubtcf.com, book a tour, and get plugged in. Community is at the heart of these third places and of Lancaster itself. Their purpose is to create a space where relationships are built, ideas are shared, and the spirit of the Lancaster community thrives.
We have music and theatre and education and a space for people to do art, but it's mostly about creating a space for people to get out of their home, gather and meet other members of their community and socialise and not be isolated. It was something that seemed to come up an awful lot, and particularly post-pandemic, that people are staying at home and they're not connecting with one another, and people are feeling isolated and lonely. And I think one of the hopes that we have is that our space will be somewhere that people can use to do that.
Yeah. One of the things that we've done, I think we've had 3 community potlucks that have been really cool. And they're just where we open the doors, put out some long tables, and say it's helpful if people sign up ahead of time, but it's for anyone in the community to come, bring some food, hang out, get to meet some neighbors. And that's been really cool because with that, I've noticed it hasn't been groups of people that are coming in. It hasn't been my friends or Rufus's friends for the most part. It's been various neighbors that are coming out of the woodwork and meeting new people, making new friends. So in some ways, that community potluck feels kind of like the purest example of the third space concept that we've done. But at the same time, there's a lot of smaller groups that have used the space as well. So there's been, we've had like jazz dance classes for people that are interested in that. There's been some poetry readings for people that were interested in that. All kinds of, like the Pennsylvania Cycling Association had a gathering there. All of these little interest groups where people, maybe it's like too big to gather in someone's living room, and they just need places where it's not like a crowded bar scene or you know, in a coffee shop where it can be tight, but where there's just like, but a conference room also doesn't really fit some of those things. So I just like, if I could produce a list of all of the different, you know, groups that have used or inquired about using the space, it's pretty wild. And all those little groups are little pieces of community that are finding a place to come together. And that is really gratifying for us to see that, for sure.
While Josh and Rufus reflect on the joy of seeing diverse groups find a home at West Art, Catherine and Jason share a similar journey of adapting Horst Art Center to better serve their community, transforming spaces into places where creativity and connection flourish.
I'm very, I would say community-minded, but people-minded. I just love interacting with people, and I love interacting through the arts because that is my passion as well as our vocation. And so I think when you said it's realizing Mannheim is a space that maybe doesn't need a storefront for graphics, but as we started to look at what we're doing, we wanted to think, is there a way to bring in the community to just enjoy the arts and crafts, enjoy what we do, and share our passion with others in just a beautiful space, something different. And so that kind of changed. And then as we moved buildings, and we just moved up the street, still the same business. Ironically, had gotten business cards and then realized they weren't useful within a few months. But we got into a new space and just realized it was much more adaptable to just having a large space for community events.
So the new place was bigger than the first place?
It was, yeah. The first place on South Street in Mannheim had 2 stories. This place now is just 1 story that's open to the public. And it was more accommodating to change our vision of not just being a service that we provide, because we first consider some of our jobs as services, graphics, fine arts, more of that base, to more what can we do for, I don't want to say entertainment, but experience. So service to experiences, and realize, hey, workshops, classes, learning, just events where people can come in and learn something different is really maybe something interesting to pursue. And so, and we started with kids, but also just started to realize there's a variety of ages that really enjoy getting together, especially adults, teens and adults, and we don't always have that place to visit that's not involving food, a restaurant, some place to eat? Is there a place to come and learn and do something different and do an arts and crafts? People are creative and they want creative outlets. And so that's kind of where now our location on North Main in the last, I would say, we opened in the new space in 2020 of October with a different world and viewpoint on even just community.
Absolutely, yeah. It was
getting together and doing things. And we're like, we had time to renovate the building, which was great because we didn't have to be somewhere. But also we kind of panicked of like, all right, now we want a place for people to meet, and can we meet? But being artists for so long, we're adaptable. I really think our whole business has changed even since 2020. The last 4 years, we're always pivoting and trying and looking and problem solving. The arts is about problem solving, honestly. And so we realized, all right, well, here's a new struggle to figure out how can we now commune with people, do what we love, but with some limitations. And so that has changed, but it's also opened up a lot for us as Horse Arts.
Third places like Horse Arts Center and West Art are essential for building connections and fostering creativity. By hosting events, supporting local artists, and encouraging creative expression, these spaces strengthen the community and leave a lasting impact on the local art scene. So impact so far that West Art has had on the local art scene, not just community, but the local art scene. What do you think the impact has been?
I don't know. I suppose we've created space for the Shakespeare Company that they were lacking. We've been hosting a lot of concerts. I guess we're providing space for mostly music. Would be the predominant art form that is taking place in West Art, but there have been some other things going on. I think, from a sort of painting and drawing point of view, I think that will come down the line once we open the coffee bar and the art co-ops open. We have some art displayed in the building at the moment, but it's because of the nature of what we're doing and that we're restoring the building. It's not open a lot of the time, and so the public can't just wander in. I think that will come down the line more.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the things that we're looking forward to is kind of making it a more curated space for art. We took over the building in the condition that it was in, which was very functional. But for example, in City Hall, in the big space, we don't have proper lighting for the art that's on the walls yet. When the cafe is up and running, the coffee bar, it will be great to have some curated art exhibits there that are rotating through. So that piece of it feels like one that's coming down the line. We've had a couple of art exhibits that have been really cool. Brady Pappas came in the first weekend in June for Pride Month. That was a really powerful night. Very cool. It was like a one-night exhibit in the sanctuary. That was really cool, but feels more like a piece that's coming down the line.
Part of what makes third places so special is the thoughtfulness behind them, the way they're curated to create a sense of belonging and make people feel like they are truly welcome.
When we have people walk in, they comment on just how comfortable we are, how friendly, how inviting our building is. And we think the sense of experience when you even walk through the door, I feel like a third place is a place you want to relax in, you feel comfortable in, you're excited to be there and want to stay. And so we usually get, and that's very important to us, but we usually get some positive remarks. So just number one, when you walk in, it's a place to stay. And then just trying to be really engaging with conversation. So that kind of seeing that.
And so we were very purposeful about that when we created our new space, especially when we moved into our second building. Our main event space, we decided to create a circular table. It's in 4 parts. You can reconfigure it in various ways, but normally it's a circle. And we like to say nobody's stuck in a corner. And we don't want people to be stuck behind a canvas, like just looking straight ahead at an instructor. Like when you're there, we want you to be engaging with one another. And so
you're staring across the table at the person, and you can kind of see each other. You're all looking towards each other.
Yeah, absolutely. And so we have that, and then we're now looking to expand. We have a garage out back. Catherine's been really passionate about getting ready and being more of a community space for our studio is great. But we don't do a lot with paint in there. We don't really get too messy in there. But we've got this garage out back where we have a chance to get a little messy. a little more hands-on.
It's also my art studio, and I've always wanted a public art studio for like
That's
15 years. So I'm like, it's a place where all my work would be, and so it's more intimate. Smaller space is more intimate versus the large room, but just a place for kind of things. Yeah, definition, conversation, and people when they come in, they want to sit and talk with us. They want to engage with it, and so and we want it to feel like a place that you can really engage. But yeah, trying to create different spaces also for different sizes of people, creating visual. Making it enticing with your eyes, smells. Try to have a candle going. We've tried to do some research and talk to other places that like it's a full body experience. Sometimes when you're comfortable, why do you like going to these? For me, why do you like going to a coffee shop? Well, it smells like the drink I love. The sounds, it can be warm. The lighting, the colors, especially being an artist, I think
cozy, right?
Cozy. Yeah, the idea of cozy, but also hopefully. Creative enough, so we try to have that flair in the space that people feel that they want to make something that looks fun. So we have the bright color yellow in our marketing, branding, and also in our space because I think art, especially for adults, art can be fun and engaging, and sometimes that pulls back this pressure that, especially when they make something with us, that it has to be a certain level. We want them to walk away with something they enjoy and they feel proud of, but like it also can just be a place to have fun. And when you have fun, I think you usually relax and want to come back. So fun's important to us, I think. Inviting happy.
Are you looking for the perfect space for your next meeting, media project, or private event? Well, TCF has you covered. Our conference rooms are perfect for meetings with your team or your clients. Our media studio can accommodate photography, audio, and video production. And our 6th floor venue has everything you need to throw an unforgettable private party or retreat. Book now at lancastervenue.com and take your next event to the next level. It's true what they say. A space is only as good as the people who fill it. And the people of West Art make it thrive. Josh and Rufus talked about how partnerships with groups like the School District of Lancaster, Music for Everyone, and other local organizations have brought their space to life with student murals, live performances, and community classes.
It's pretty clear. I mean, when I think of all the things that have already happened in the building, I ask myself, like, where would some of those things have happened otherwise? And in some cases, there are easy answers, like there's other options, but then there are some things that we've done that it just feels like West Art is kind of uniquely suited. For example, with the school district, with the concert that they did there with their students and teachers and parents and some of the community were coming out for it. It's just the kind of thing that fit perfectly in a community space like this. That's not going to happen in a bar somewhere or like that kind of thing. So it's felt really nice to have people walk in the door and say, wow, this is a great spot for this idea that we have coming up. And it's gratifying to see that.
I think the mural particularly was very inspirational. I think that these partnerships, you sort of think of, what can we get out of it? What can they get out of it kind of thing. And I think for us with this whole project, Josh and I are working really hard at it. And a lot of the time it's just the two of us. And so having these collaborations where you actually get inspired, particularly by young people, it makes you feel like it's worth it. It gives you the impetus to carry on and to really push on and work hard because you can see what it can mean to people and how it can potentially change people's lives because it gives them a window into what they can achieve and what they're really capable of. And I think that's really cool.
These spaces are all about supporting creativity, providing a welcoming home for art in all of its forms. That sense of encouragement and connection is what makes them true third places. Each one has its own character shaped by its location and purpose, creating a space that feels authentic to its community. A big thank you to Anne, Josh, Rufus, Catherine, and Jason for joining us at the So Good Media Studio. Stay connected with the excitement of these incredible third places and find out how to experience them for yourself by following them on Instagram. The Candy Factory is at Coworking, West Art is at West Art Lanc, and Horst Art Center is at Horst Arts. They've got some great events lined up for 2025 that you will not want to miss. Goodies, we love hearing from you. Let's take a look inside this episode's goodie bag. Sav Thorpe let us know that on January 25th, from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., her and State Representative Izzy Smith-Waddell are hosting the Stuff to Do Fair at Tech Central West. Think of it as a job fair, but way more fun with over 25 hobbies, clubs, classes, and activities to explore. Whether you're looking to pick up a new skill or you just want to meet some cool people, this is your chance to dive into some of the awesome stuff happening here in Lancaster County. For more information on the fair, you can check out their Facebook event or their Instagram profile. That's at Stuff to Do Fair. We'll link to both in the show notes. Hey, do you want to throw your thoughts into the goodie bag? Let us know what you think of today's episode, or if you have any fun announcements or events you'd like us to share on the show. We're all ears. Head over to sogoodlancaster.com and submit your comments, or leave a comment on our episode post on Reddit. We post each episode in the Lancaster subreddit. Your thoughts and announcements could be featured on an upcoming episode of So Good Lancaster. Well, that's it for today. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll catch you next time. In the meantime, stay good, Lancaster. Stay good. So Good Lancaster is produced at So Good Media in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Our production staff is Ann Kirby, Georgia Hall, and Star Snyder, and I do a few things here and there as well. Find us online at sogoodlancaster.com and follow us on all the socials. Have any comments, questions, or want to learn more about how So Good Media can help you with your podcast and media productions? Drop us a line at hello@sogoodmedia.studio.